Are we just missing Lydia?
Yep.
I guess I'll wait. Should I wait or start without her? Yeah.
Jim Spratlen. Let's see. It's Jim Spratlen.
No.
So we could.
Shoot, and we got like a lot of presentations for our workshop. I want to just get through.
To be honest.
Right.
Just
There's literally just Susan. All right, this is the Cortez City Council work session. Today's Tuesday, October 10th, 2023, and the time is 6:03 p.m. I'd like to call this meeting to order. I don't see our first speaker, Jim Spratlen, here yet, so we'll move ahead on the agenda to B and have Rachael Marchbanks and Helen West come and present to us.
Greetings, Mayor and Council. Thanks for having us on the agenda today. We're here to talk with you about Proposition 123, which was passed by Colorado voters in 2022. It creates a state affordable housing fund in the Colorado State Treasury. A portion of the income tax revenues collected by the state will contribute to the fund. An estimated $318 million will be allocated for affordable housing through this fund for just the year 2023-2024, and more will follow after that. Local governments, as well as nonprofits and private developers, will be able to apply for this funding, but to be eligible to apply to receive a portion of this funding, we must opt in by November 1st, 2023. So we're going to give you some background on that as far as our housing needs and what level we're looking at opting into, and just let us know if you have any questions.
All right. So just an overview of what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to go over some definitions because affordable housing can be complicated, and also the purpose of Prop 123. We'll talk about how to opt in, what that means, and then we'll break it down for Cortez specifically. So what does housing look like in the city of Cortez, and what would our commitment to Prop 123 be? And then we'll have some time for questions. So I want to talk about two terms that get thrown around with affordable housing. They each mean very similar things, but slightly different. So the first is AMI, which stands for Area Medium Income, and refers to the median, which is the middle, income of a county. So because Cortez is small and rural, the AMI is going to encompass all of Montezuma County. It's not specific to Cortez. AMI is a common unit of measurement when discussing affordable housing. It is published annually by the Department of Housing and Urban Development. MFI stands for median family income and refers to the median income of families in a given location. This is a number also published by HUD.
So AMI is the individual?
No, I'm about to talk about that.
Okay.
So the main difference between AMI and MFI is that MFI excludes roommates and singles, which usually skews the income limit higher. So a family unit is people that are married or people or related to each other. So when my husband and I got married, we were considered a family. If we were living together as unmarried adults before that, we would be considered, we would not be considered a family. We could be counted in the AMI as a two-person household because household income includes people living together who are not considered family. But we wouldn't be considered in that MFI until we were married. So for example, AMI can include roommates. MFI would exclude those roommates. So just to break it down with Montezuma County here, so AMI is also published based on the per person household. So you can see that across the board. We are going to mostly be talking about two-person households today, and there are two numbers that Prop 123 wants us to focus on. That 100% AMI, which in the county of Montezuma is about $66,000 per year, and 60% AMI, which is about $40,000 per year. At the very end, when we talk about our commitment to Prop 123, you'll see the one-person unit pop up. So just some numbers there. And this is all data that can be found in our housing needs assessment, which is published on the website. This is just for education as you go out into the community and talk to the community. Just because someone is living at 100% AMI does not necessarily mean that person is self-sustainable. So the self-sufficiency standard is a measure that describes how much income families of various sizes, because we know that bigger families need more money, different various sizes and composition need to make ends meet without public or private assistance in each county in Colorado. So this is published by the state. And it is based on the cost of basic needs for working families, including housing, childcare, food, healthcare, miscellaneous items, and of course taxes. So the median household, well, this data, this is where like numbers get kind of confusing, but that median household income, again, this is not AMI, this is a different measurement of household income. Our housing needs assessment counts that at $58,000. If you'll remember, that two-person AMI standard was about $66,000, $65,800, which falls about $1,000 short to be considered self-sustainable by the state of Colorado. So the state of Colorado lists that a two-person household in Montezuma County needs to make at least $66,738 to be self-sustainable. One more term, affordable housing, and this can mean a lot of different things. In most Colorado state initiatives, affordable housing means that you are spending no more than 30% of your annual income on housing. In most cases in Colorado, they're talking about 100% AMI, so if a house is for sale at the however you divide a house price by 30% for a person living at 100% AMI, that's considered affordable. According to Prop 123, an affordable house for rent would mean that 30% of the annual income divided by 12 months for a person at or below 60% AMI would be considered affordable. It's a big mouthful. In Cortez, these data points can be interpreted as a house for sale being below $220,000 or $1,000 for rent, for a person or household making $65,800 or $39,480. So that $65,800 is the 100% AMI, and the $39,480 is that 60% AMI. Sometimes affordable housing can be equated with low-income housing. While this is an important feature of affordable housing policy, words like workforce or attainable housing reinforce the fact that affordable housing policy actually concerns everyone. It concerns the missing middle and housing for all residents. So in most cases, we consider the missing middle to be 60 to 140% AMI, or about $40,000 to $92,000 here in Montezuma County. That would be our missing middle annual income. So that equates to a max housing price of about $306,000 would be affordable. And council, if you want these slides for data, I am more than happy to send them to you. So what is Prop 123? As Rachael Marchbanks stated, this was voted into Colorado law last year in 2022, and it created the State Affordable Housing Fund in the Colorado Treasury. It allocates a portion of the income tax revenues every year to contribute to that fund. So in 2022 and 2023, that fund is about $160 million. Next year, in 2023 and 2024, we are going to be allocating, the state of Colorado is going to be allocating $318 million for affordable housing initiatives. But the state doesn't want to worry about doling that out all themselves, so they are dividing that money into two different brackets. So 40% of that $318 million will go to the Department of Housing for their Affordable Housing Support Fund. And 60% of that $318 million will go to the Affordable Housing Financing Fund, which will be allocated by the Office of Economic Development and International Trade and the Colorado Housing Finance Authority. This is another slide that just breaks down those numbers a little more. This comes directly from the state of Colorado. And each year those funds are transferred in July, so after all the taxes are done and figured out. So a little bit more about the opt-in process. So we've decided we want to opt in. The next step is to establish our baseline of affordable housing. So we have to determine how much affordable housing is here in Cortez, and then when we opt in, we agree to increase that affordable housing stock by 3% every year. And then I just put some numbers on the side as a reminder that what is affordable. It's that you're not spending any more than 30% of your income on housing. If you are renting, that means affordable, according to Prop 123, means it's a family living at or below 60% AMI, which is about $40,000 here in Cortez. And if you are looking to purchase a house is considered affordable if that person is at or below 100% AMI, which is about $66,000 here in Cortez. We have to opt in by November 1st, so it's coming up, and then we would be working to increase our housing stock by 3% per year until 2026. Some about the data that the state uses to determine the baseline comes from those three small bullet points on the bottom. So the American Community Survey, the Comprehensive Housing Affordability Strategy, which is also produced by HUD, and then they have a separate Department of Housing method that they define themselves. We won't be using that. That's mostly for the resort communities like Telluride. So we want to get ahead of some of the questions that you guys might have. These are questions we had when, to the state when thinking about opting in. So number one, how will these funds be distributed? And from everything that we have read and talked about with the state, this will be a competitive application process. So once we opt in, we will have to apply for grants to get this funding. The good thing about Prop 123 is that that funding, once we're opted in, not only can municipalities apply for funding, but for-profit developers and our nonprofit partners like Pinion and the Montezuma Housing Authority can all apply for that funding. But they can't, it's important to know that they can't apply for that funding until we as the city opt in. So the city has to opt in. What units are eligible to be counted towards our goal? Now here in maroon is directly taken from DOLA's website, directly from the Department of Local Affairs. And the gray bullet point at the bottom comes from everything that our staff has inferred from our discussions with the state or webinars. So any newly constructed housing units, once they are permitted, will be counted, and those we can either base them on if we use Prop 123 funding, they can be counted, or if they meet those affordable standards can be counted. Existing housing units are counted at the time they are permitted and fully funded, and then finally, counties, municipalities, and tribes do not need to wait until construction is completed. As soon as they're permitted as an affordable unit, they will count towards our goal. Also, just
When,
that, oh, go
Helen,
ahead.
when does that clock start, I guess?
As soon as we opt in.
Oh, so like November, not January?
Tomorrow. If we are planning, and this is why so we don't need council approval to opt in, but we wanted to bring this to you as what we are planning to do, and get your feel for it. Of course, if you guys feel iffy, we have one more council to put this on the agenda and be voted on if you guys want to do that. But DOLA is not requiring council approval for this. Yes, we made that face as well, Arlena, and asked them, but they assured us we did not need approval. But we did not feel good going ahead without talking to you guys. So if we opt in tomorrow, we can start counting units tomorrow. Good question. That is to say, the opt-in has to be approved. So if we opt in tomorrow and they approve it tomorrow, then we can count. It's highly unlikely, but it is possible DOLA could say, no, you did something wrong, you have to go back and crunch the numbers again. I don't think that's going to happen, but it's possible. So what if the city of Cortez doesn't meet the 3-year goal? That means that we would become ineligible for funding through Prop 123 in 2026. We would have to sit out for a year. But they do say, and it's taken directly from their website, as you see in the maroon, grants and loans, if we do not meet our goal, do not have to be repaid. So what do the numbers look like for Cortez? This slide is taken from our housing needs assessment. I'm not going to go over everything. I just wanted to put it back up there. A couple important points. The average household size in the city of Cortez is 2.4 people, and many residents are cost burdened, meaning they're paying more than 30% of their income on housing. Renters, about 38% of renters are cost burdened in Cortez, and this is actually data from Cortez, and 19% of homeowners are considered cost burdened. This is a graph showing the household sizes and, based on who is renting and who is owning. So in gray, that shows owner-occupied houses. So for example, 18% of 4-person households own their own home, and 18% of 4-person households rent. So that you can see a large portion of our renters, or did I say that backwards?
No, I just was wondering.
Oh, the other. Yeah, it doesn't quite add up correctly, but anyways, so a lot of our 1-person households are renters. This is a graph on the left that shows the existing stock of housing in Cortez. So for example, we have 39% of our existing stock of housing, whether renting or for purchase, is a 2-bedroom home. On the right-hand side shows the size distribution per household. So for example, 36% of our households in Cortez are made up of 2 people. The interesting thing about this graph is it shows a pretty big mismatch in our housing stock. So 30% of our people, or our households, are 1 person. However, only 8% of our household stock is meant for 1 person. Also, the city of Cortez has been increasing in population, and this is important to note. You might be a little bit surprised at how many houses the state expects us to build, and I think it's directly related to this slide. So as you see, between 2010 and 2019, our population increased by 0.2% per year. And this is actually from the city of Cortez, so this is not Montezuma. After 2021, our population grew 7.5 times greater than in the previous decade. So from 2020 to 2021, our population increased by 1.5%, and then again it increased by 1% in 2021 to 2022. So we've seen rapid population increase since the COVID pandemic of 2019, which is not taken into account by the American Community Survey. Directly related to that previous slide is the housing occupancy rate. So you can see in 2010 on the very left-hand side of the graph, we're already well above 90% occupancy of our existing housing stock, but after 2019, it skyrockets to 94%. So we're a little bit more than 94% occupancy rate now. We are also projected to grow. A lot of this data, again, comes from our housing needs assessment. And this is data from Montezuma County, so this is not Cortez specific, but about 60% of jobs in Montezuma County are located in Cortez. And something to note, partly just because we love data in the economic department, but most of the jobs that were lost during the COVID pandemic are estimated to have been fully regained by 2022. We don't have the 2022 jobs data yet, but that should come out in the next couple months. So you can see there that it is expected to have regained jobs. We are also expected to continue to grow. So our housing needs assessment found that we should add at least 620 jobs by 2028. That's about 124 jobs per year. And they're using our expected growth rate of jobs, not of population, of jobs, as the same as it was pre-2019. So 2012 to 2019, our annual job growth rate was 0.78%. So the housing needs assessment used that same projection for 2022 through 2028. So if we go back to our jobs, if you extend that line and do some calculations, by the end of 2023, we should have 13,121 jobs here in Montezuma County, about. With all that into consideration, our housing needs assessment found that we need 285 to 535 units to catch up or keep up with our population increases. So that's 75 to 175 houses or units, rental or otherwise, per year, or to keep up with projected job growth and increase in population, 210 to 360 units per year. So that's, in 5 years, sorry, that's not per year, that's in 5 years. So that's between 15 and 72 units per year that we would need to build. And it's important to remember this number, it does not have to do with affordability. This is just like, we need houses. Whether you're low income, middle income, or high income, this is what we need. But I do want to remind you that a lot of our people here in Cortez are cost burdened. So one of the handouts you have in front of you showcases the slide that you can't really see very well. It's that first page. So this first page is a summary of the housing need by AMI. So again, that area median income. And this is for a two-person household. So for example, a starting teacher or a starting police officer would actually fall into that low income bracket, into the 50 to 80% AMI bracket. You can also look at, if I'm a linear thinker, so I really like the linear model. However, there's also that handy bridge on the left-hand side, which is another way to represent AMI. When we talk about the missing middle, we're talking about people between that moderate income to middle income range that we want to target with affordable housing. So back to Prop 123. Prop 123 decides that if you are purchasing a house, to be affordable, you must make at or below 100% AMI, which again is about $66,000 here in Cortez and Montezuma County, which would put the max affordable home price at about $219,000. Our realtors were kind enough to give us data on all the houses sold from 2020 up until May of this year. So I did a little bit of calculations and projected out. We are on track to sell 26.4 houses under $220,000 this year. As you can see, the houses sold from 2020 to 2023 under $220,000 have dropped significantly. And I think that's directly related more to just our population increase. Right? We have a lot of people moving in and buying up the existing stock. So there might be houses that would be worth $220,000, but our people are staying and they're not moving. So those houses are not turning over. If you are renting, Prop 123 decides that you need to make at or below 60% AMI, which for a two-person household here in Cortez is about $39,480. So that max affordable rent broken up by 12 divided by 30 is $987 per month. The rental prices in Cortez have grown by 75%, or they're 75% higher than they were in 2010, and most of that increase happened between 2019 and 2022. So that is, I'm going to step back before I show you our numbers. So that is all to say, to kind of show what we're up against, right? We have a need for housing. We want to target the missing middle, that 60% AMI for renters, that 100% to 140% for purchasing a home. I also showed you that the population has increased by a lot since 2019. The American Community Survey is using data that was taken in 2019 to project into the future. So they are not taking into the account the rapid growth in population that we have seen since 2019. So this is why our numbers are kind of high. So our 3-year opt-in would be to build 69 affordable units within 3 years. The baseline, that American Community Survey, found that we have 767 current affordable units in Cortez. That's renting or purchasing. Now, those units might be full, they might be full of people, but there are supposedly 767 affordable units here in town. We set the prices for affordable house to about that $220,000, and the rent came out to about $864. So this means that opting in, the city would commit to building 23 affordable houses per year. I do want to say that we used the one-person household AMI, that $57,600 for our calculations, and part of our justification for that was that mismatch in housing stock. So we have a lot more one-person households. We need more one-person units.
Can I just add
Go
something?
for it.
Yeah, and for those of you that have been following Prop 123 and the tool that we need to use, which is based on the law, some of those figures, some of the data for our area is way off. Like, do we really have 767 affordable units in the city of Cortez currently? That's really questionable. But we do have to go by those numbers that that come up in this tool.
Yeah, and we messed around with these numbers a lot and had a lot of conversation with DOLA and DOLA reps, and this is kind of the best we've come up with. So this is what we want to do. This is what we think is as reasonable and justifiable to get that potential for funding. A couple things to note as we move forward. One is that the price of affordable rent or sale can fluctuate, so that we're not tied to those prices that you see on the left-hand side as affordable. And also it's important to remember AMI does fluctuate with size of family. So if you're, moving into a family of 10, you can probably expect a more expensive house than a family of 2. Also, the state of Colorado is still determining how to count those units towards the 3-year goal. So it's entirely possible we could have some changes in what is considered affordable or how to count those towards that 69 goal.
Quick question. On the 4th bullet, is it specifically houses or are you talking about units?
Units. Good questions.
Okay, I just
oh, right, yes. On the so it
okay,
says build 23 affordable houses. No, 23 affordable units per year. Yeah.
So say Pinion project finishes, could that,
Has it been permitted?
it already has?
It has been permitted, so I don't think it would count, but I did talk to somebody else at DOLA that said it might, but
Okay.
I for the most part, what we've heard is that likely not, because it's already been permitted and fully funded.
But it might.
Okay.
When we've had conversation with the state, they're trying to get this money out, and they are probably moving faster than everyone in the state understands what's going on. So there might be some things that change. But the important thing is we want to opt in by November 1st, which is coming up. So I'm going to turn it over unless anyone has any quick questions about data.
So with counting the units, like if we built most of the units 1 year for those 3 years, would those have to count all towards the 1 year?
That's a great question. No. So the only thing that matters is that 69 over 3 years. So another thing that I had a question about DOLA was like, okay, say we build all 69 units in 2024, but we know from that housing needs assessment, we actually need more units. Would we become ineligible for grant funding in 2025? And they said no. They said that the grant funding is not based on whether you've met your goal or not. It's based on application credibility or application vitality and need.
Have Mancus and Dolores opted in?
The county opted in yesterday,
county.
so Montezuma County opted in. Jason, our counterpart at Mancus, is presenting to the town board tomorrow. We expect them to opt in. And Dolores, I'm not sure.
I think they were planning on opting in, but I'm not sure if they have yet.
And-
At their meeting last night, they said yes, and I think they're going to do a resolution at their next meeting.
Okay, cool.
And just so I'm understanding correctly, none of our like housing needs assessment data is used in the state data that determines these numbers? It's all through their
Unfortunately not.
toolkit? Okay.
We did argue with them and tried to be able to use it, but we ultimately were not allowed to.
And just for my own curiosity, do you know what a healthy percentage of occupancy is?
It's super high right now. Oh, what a healthy
Oh, I know ours is like
Oh.
super high, but I was like, well, what's healthy? Because you don't want a ton
Right, you don't want to
derelict
make it-
homes either.
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not sure, but we're at like, what was it, like
94.6 something.
Yeah, it's super high right now, so it doesn't allow people to move around much at all or make any changes.
Yeah, thank you.
So, Helen, and maybe this is the part that's coming up next that Rachel's going to talk about, but during this, our numbers slide, I heard you say the city would commit to building, and then earlier when we were talking about the establishing a baseline on that slide that we agree to increase by 3% each year. When I hear those two things, it sounds like the city's getting into the job of
That's a
building.
great question. but
And
that-
so I just want to
right.
be, and for all the people
Yeah.
out there
This-
watching,
So I want to be very,
clarify would be
very
great.
clear. The city is not interested in building affordable housing. We are interested in partnering with for-profit developers and nonprofit partners to assist in that development. No. So by saying we commit to building, it means that if at the end of 3 years we have not built 69 units, then everybody, us, for-profit developers, nonprofit developers, will not be able to apply for Prop 123 funding for 1 year. So the city takes on the commitment, and then we allow everyone else to build the houses for us. Yeah. Or for themselves, not for us. They would not give us the houses. They would get to reap the benefits of building their own developing houses.
I apologize because I got lost.
It's a lot.
It's
It's
a
a
lot.
lot.
Who's we? I mean, you keep referring to we. We don't need your approval, but the builders can't get money unless you approve.
Oh,
Who's
right.
we?
So we are the city staff. So this is a staff recommendation. Well, this is what the staff wants to do.
So you do need council's approval.
It's a funny thing, and I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Marchbanks.
So DOLA doesn't require council action. So if you guys are okay with these numbers and give just kind of a general straw poll consensus, we'll go ahead and opt in. If you'd rather that we do some kind of vote resolution, then we'll put it on the next agenda and do it that way.
Yeah, I was just a little excited. I've always found out if somebody says, you have a deadline, it's coming up right now, we need your answer right now, and that's kind of what's in front of us. And then we're told, you really don't have any say-so anyway, it's our choice.
Oh,
And-
no, absolutely.
and
Yeah, that's why we're,
That really disturbs me.
yeah.
That's totally fair. We are bringing it to you so late because we have been having a lot of discussions trying to get those numbers a little lower. So that is honestly where that's coming from.
I really appreciate you guys talking to DOLA and with the state and asking the questions that you knew we were going to ask you, and instead of having to repeat the presentation. And yeah, it's really helpful.
We want to talk a little bit about next steps.
So, but yeah, I mean, let us know. We can bring it to the next agenda item if you guys want us to make some adjustments or something. It's just that we don't have a lot of leeway with the tool. So, and based on our discussions with DOLA and the consultant that they hired, they're recommending that the numbers that we entered, we should stick with those, and that's what the tool kind of spit out for us as far as what we need to opt in at.
Yeah, I just got hung up when it said we didn't matter.
Oh, yeah. No,
That hung
sorry
me
about
up
that.
right there. I was going, whoa, if it doesn't matter, why are you here?
It does matter.
Right, no,
Totally.
It does. DOLA is interestingly not requiring us to get your approval, but we would rather have at least a nod of approval before moving forward with this.
Arlena, did you have a?
Yeah, sorry, is there another section? I have several questions, I just want to be mindful of.
Yeah, I was
maybe
just
that
going
gets
to talk
in-
about some other next steps that we are planning. So if you have some questions specifically about
Yeah.
this, yeah, go for it.
Okay, so we opt in, it makes it so our community partners can potentially obtain funding so that they can put that funding towards projects to create affordable housing. Are we, as a government, allowed to pursue some of that funding for, say, developing a parcel that we own for the potential of affordable housing?
Yes.
Okay.
It just depends on, they will put out different types of grants. So there might be grants that are only for for-profit developers. There might be grants that are specifically geared toward municipalities.
Okay, and we are squared away to be able to opt in with DOLA for this specific thing because of all the issues that we've had?
Oh, yeah, I don't think that will affect our past audit issues.
Okay,
Yeah.
and we're not becoming a pass-through for any funding from this?
No, not unless we agree. Not unless we do some kind of a partnership agreement that with a developer or something like that, that we're going to apply for the funds and they're going to build it or something.
Okay, thank you.
And I know you have more to show, but I guess my thoughts are, I'm for opting in because if the only punishment is we, like a year, for 1 year, we can't apply for funding or nobody can, well, opting out, not opting in, we're already doing that. So we might as well see if we can reach that goal. I imagine also the state is building this plane while it's flying, so things are going to change and maybe get a little more lenient as they understand the numbers. And if it's no like financial detriment to us and it'll help our community members, our like partner agencies, then it seems like a good idea.
I also wanted to ask how we've been engaging our partner agencies in this conversation and what they're feeling around it, and also if we've engaged any like partners that maybe we hadn't thought of in relation to this specific funding, and
Yeah,
engage
so
them.
we have been talking with our local developers a bit about this, and some have actually even reached out to us to ask, are you going to opt in? Also, as you saw at the last council meeting, even folks from Durango are calling asking, are you going to opt in? And I've had a developer from Montrose calling, asking if we will opt in, real estate agents, so both nonprofit and for-profit. So yes, we are very kind of active, reaching out to folks, to our local folks, and we'll do more of that. And the ones that are, I mean, there are developers and others that are watching different cities and towns very closely to see who opts in, to see if, there might be a viable project for them.
We've also been talking to Pinion Project and Montezuma Housing Authority as well, so they're aware
Yeah.
of this initiative.
Yeah. Well, I'm definitely on board. I think it only opens the door for other entities to be able to have more resources to be able to build affordable housing. And again, it doesn't really seem like the benefits definitely outweigh the negatives for this.
Yeah, I'm pro opting in as well. I think the state's trying to, rush this to get some homes on the ground so things will flush out as it continues forward, and that we would be missing the boat if we didn't. Yeah.
That is a good question. We've heard the good things that can become of it. What are the bad things?
We don't know, is the short answer.
Well, I'll
Okay, maybe she'll say.
add a caveat to that.
Yeah.
So the state, and what we've been hearing is that the worst is that we would not be eligible to apply for funding after that 3, so we'd have to wait for a year. So if we opt in and we don't meet that goal, then the worst thing that could happen is that we have, so after that 3-year time period, then the following year, we have to wait a year, and then we're eligible again. And then the other thing is that we wouldn't have to repay any funds that were, you know, I guess, garnered during that 3-year period, even if we didn't meet that goal. So,
Yeah, I was going to say the other negative is the data. The data is skewed, so I think those numbers are skewed, which puts us at a disadvantage. A lot of rural communities are facing that same disadvantage, so there is a lot of concern amongst our rural counterparts for the same issues. The other bad thing that I worry about, that we as a rural community worry about, is capacity for municipalities to apply for these grants. So we've already seen a lot of this funding go to the Front Range, just because they have more people to apply for the grants and more developers with ready, set projects. And we don't have that because we are rural. So that is one of the bad things, but that doesn't necessarily negatively impact us. It possibly gives us as a rural community more voice to say that the state needs to pay attention to us.
Well, if we opt in, does the cost affect the time frame within which we build them? The sooner?
No, so the units do not have to be built within that 3-year period. They do have to be permitted to count towards that goal. But there's no requirement how fast you build them, I guess. Right?
yeah, we haven't seen anything. That's not to say that there isn't, but yeah, in order to qualify, we have to, like Helen said, they have to be permitted.
So there's no time frame tied to a permit, building permit?
There is 3 years.
Okay.
Once it's permitted.
Once it's permitted.
Okay.
Oh, right, yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so.
But will the cost be affected, say, the sooner we fulfill this?
No, no. So there is no, if we build all 69 affordable units next year, we don't get anything. There's no kudos. You just get to keep building stuff or not. But yeah.
Or were you, does that answer your question, Counselor? Like, were you asking if the cost would increase or if?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, it's possible that the cost would increase over time. So I think it's within, you know, our interest or the potential developer's interest to get them done quickly. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
With the skewed numbers giving us a higher amount that we need, does that give us more money, yet make it more difficult to reach that goal that?
No, unfortunately not. So by opting in, we just get the availability of funding. There's no guarantee for funding. We still have to go through the grant application process. Our for-profit developers will still have to go through the grant application process.
Well, and then, so those for-profit developers, they go through the grant application process. I assume that they're also responsible for managing their own grants, correct?
I would assume so, yes.
So that takes some of the burden off of our grant manager.
Yeah, by opting in, we just opt in and plan or hope or try to facilitate building those affordable units. There's actually no legwork required of us from the city unless we want to, as a city, go for some of that affordable money.
Yeah, the only legwork the city would have to do is the city will have to report to the state on the number of units, I believe yearly. So we will have to do that, but we're tracking that information anyway.
Yeah. Thank you, Robert.
Yeah.
Councilman Robert.
So basically saying there's not an increased administrative burden on the city just for us to opt in. It's really, we say yes, it opens the door for everybody else to go through.
True, and then we can, as a city, decide, oh, let's go for that grant. That will require more, but that will be a different process. Yeah, the only administrative work, like Councilman Dobry said, was to, we have to count our units.
All right, in the essence of time, I just want to check then with our council in support. I'd say the majority is then, so thank you.
Thank you. We will give you an update at some point.
All right. Okay, we're going to bounce back to A on our agenda and invite Mr. Jim Spratlen To the front, our Montezuma County Emergency Manager.
Good evening, City Council, Mr. Sanders. I guess I can't walk around like I do and talk, so I'll stand here and wave my hands. So, I'm here to talk about emergency management alert and warning system. So, give me 15 minutes. I may pick on a test subject on the panel, but I'll do it from here just so I don't pick on too many people. So, over the years, we've always had alert and warning, whether it's Paul Revere riding a horse or someone else. We had some kind of a system. We adopted a system called Nixle, and it was good for our purpose at the time that we were using it, way back when. It fit all of our needs. But as we started growing and finding out we have more detailed incidents, more complex incidents, more alert and warning that we need to get to the public because we're getting bigger in the community, of course. So there's various ways to do it. We watched the world as they were trying to do alert and warning systems. The Marshall Fire up in Boulder, Maui. Of course, we already had in place a plan to upgrade this stuff. So we did research. I mean, I counted 15 different alert and warning systems. They all charge money. They all have a plan. They're all similar. But we didn't want to, spend hundreds and thousands of dollars. We wanted something that would meet our needs. So we researched it with the city, with Lori Johnson, a couple other emergency managers, and we found a system called Everbridge. So we looked at it. We decided to go for it. The 911 board paid for that funding, which means it came out of everybody's cell phone 911 surcharge, where you pay $1.74 a month on your cell phone bill. That pays for this system. So with that, we've spent the last, don't quote me, 4 months training with 8 of us to make sure we're all trained up, ready to go. We know how the system works, and it is very robust. We can do a lot of things. We can do conference calls on it. We can send separate messages to teams that need it at the same time for the citizens. We can circle an area. We can polygon stuff. So much easier, so much smarter, really good system. So with that, we purchased it, of course. We've been training. We're looking at trying to go away from Nixle into this new system, October 15th. We're set up with the federal system, all that fun stuff. So I'll just give you 2 basics. The system allows for us to send everybody that signs up in a portal. It's a membership portal. I hate to use the word membership. You don't have to pay anything. You put your name in, you sign up, and then you can select the weather messages that you want. I took out tsunami. If we have a tsunami here, yeah, we're in trouble. So I took out all these other things that, the world gets, and I put in there flash floods and warnings and alerts. You may not want every single one. You may not want it to send my phone went off twice. I had text messages, I had a voice message, and I had emails. You don't want that. You just sign up for whatever you want. If you want them all, get them all. That's fine. You have that option. You can sign up for only the watch, which is the highest level. Like a flood watch means we're really going to get wet, right? So put that in there. You don't need anything else. You grow a garden, you might want the freeze watch, right? So this will help you, and if you don't want any of those, fine. Take them out, but still sign up. You have to put in an email or a cell phone or a landline. Preferably, well, it's a cell phone for the text messages. And then you can click, you don't want the weather alerts, fine, don't take them. The second thing it does for us is if we have an incident that's not imminent threat to life, if it's We have a law enforcement issue. We have a road closure. We closed, what, 491 13 times? The most times I've ever closed 491 in a winter. People needed to know, right? Because you're headed to Monticello. Or we closed the road to Mancos, I think at least 7 times. We've closed 145 because of a landslide. You might want to know that. You also might want to know that, we have a gas leak. It's not an imminent threat, but we're closing a certain area of the city. We've done that. So these are the kind of things that you'll get alerted on. Right now you're getting text messages. So that's what I would like people to sign up for. Population-wise, 19,000 people over 18. So many people have cell phones, so many in a residence. My expectation is to get 8,000 people signed up. We had 5,700 on the old system. This new system will take groups and move them over. So all of our stuff that we have in the old system is being transferred over because Everbridge owns Nixle. If we were to go with a different system, we'd have to re-enter all the different groups, the EOC, the Sheriff's Department, et cetera. So we've got a good system going, everything's over there, but we can't move anybody that signed up on Nixle into this new one. You have to do it yourself. And we could somehow, actually I can't. I have no visual on the old system. So the idea is to sign up. And then let me throw this out. So that a national alert warning that went out and blew your phone up, that is not us. That is not Montezuma County. That is a national cell phone system. They do that. We have no control over that. But if we have an imminent threat to life where I have to evacuate, I don't know, up on East Canyon, the fire, we evacuated people back COVID days, right, 2020. You circle that area and I can ping every phone. You don't have to sign up. I'm telling you, get out now. That's an emergency, right? But as far as messaging, I need you to sign up on the messaging. Very important. You get a lot of stuff, and you might find out that we've closed Main Avenue because of a problem. Yes, Mayor?
I have a question about the geographic area, because how long is that active? So say I'm not in the geographic area when that alert first goes out, but I enter it, half hour later. Am I going to get that alert then?
As long as I want it to.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So we set the parameters. It sets up for an hour automatically. We leave it, and then in an hour, if I want, I extend it for 2 hours, 5 hours, whatever. If you drive into that dangerous zone, it will tell you. If the truckers coming up from the south are coming up 491, I'm pinging them saying, don't go up 491. We have no parking. You're going to block the road. There's a snowstorm. The road is closed. They'll get pinged way down south so they can do something else. And we do the same for Monticello on vehicles coming this way. So that's kind of how it works. And we can ping that if we have to. Yeah. And then I also, we have an updated database, so everybody, all the residents' phones, I can do a lot with those too. So. And that's part of the system. That's why it costs an extra $2,800, I think, per year. So we're paying around $8,000 a year for this. But it's pretty good. Based on people not using it or people using it and it doesn't work. Were you all around last week when I tested it and accidentally pinged 9,000 people? That was fun. It works. So, with that, so you go to Montezuma County website, you can go to Cortez website. Oh, it's up there, cool. So as you scroll down, you'll see this wonderful place right here that says Emergency Alert System. And you just click, see the little thing? So I'm showing the public, this is pretty easy. You click on it, and Kelly's got a nice little spiel about why we're doing what we're doing, what we've tried to do, and then you can go in and get an app on your phone. You get the Everbridge app. It's all the information, instructions are in here. Or you go all the way down to this, and you will see absolutely nothing. Where am I? All right, maybe you got to click on that one. I didn't really test out. There we go. So you click on that banner, and now you're ready to sign in as a member. If you have an account, sign in. If you don't have an account, this is for everybody here. You're all doing this right now, right? Okay. So you already signed up. I'm proud of you. Okay. I know Mr. Dober's already done. So you go down to the bottom here where it says sign up, and you click on sign up. So now it's going to bring up this banner again that I've got to shrink because it's annoying. So now you go in and put in your name, right? So Jim Emergency, right? And my username is going to be, I don't know, Jim EM. How's that? Whoops, I got to enter more. All right. At least 4 characters. So let's just say Jim EM. My password, I don't know. You enter in your password. Doesn't like that. All right, hang on. Let's just. And then security question. So anything that has a little red asterisk, you're supposed to answer, right? So, city, my first job, pickle washer. All right, come on. Guess I had to put it there. Pickle washer. That's close enough. Location. This will be City Hall. Home. Work. Grandma's. Okay? And you can sign up numerous ones for that. And then you have to put an address in. So, I don't know, 123 Roger Street, Cortez. We'll do, how about that? Well, that's out in the middle of nowhere, so. Two, one, sorry. I can't walk and talk at the same time. I guess I'm supposed to put in a real address, right? Close enough. Verify the address, because it's a geocode thing. I'm going to say, yep, this is my location. And now I'm done. Email address? No, I don't want to put it in. There's no red thing, right? So you just put in what you want. So I'm going to have my cell phone text, 759. And it's going to text me a number. That's all you need. Don't go in and put in the call unless you want to get your phone to go off here, and then your cell phone to call you, and then your email to go off. If you want it, put it all in. All right? And then I accept terms. We'll explain what the terms are, create an account, and I never for that one. So then I go down, and I'm in. Save and continue. Or I can sign up for the app right here. For now, just save and continue. And save and continue. Don't ask me why we have to do that numerous times. Then you go down here and look. Weather alerts. I don't want weather alerts. Then just save and continue. If you want weather alerts, click on it. And all of these are already checked now. So if I click on, let's say, my favorite, winter, I have a blizzard advisory that you'll let me know. But you're not going to tell me when it's snowing, blowing, so I don't care if the snow is blowing, I don't care if it's warning me. I want the heavy snow, so I leave it there. Notice the two that are clicked. Those are, I've made them mandatory. So so that you know, and we're having a blizzard, and you probably need to know that. I'm planning on fixing this because the warning is pretty heavy snow blizzard. The watch is really heavy, so I may change some of those down. But you can go in and do this, and then over here, don't contact me from 10. How many of you have received these messages after 10 p.m., like at 3 in the morning? Okay. This alleviates that. You can sign up and put in there, don't wake me up from 10 p.m. till 6 a.m. So you can opt in there, and then it has the mountain time already in there. And then you save and continue, and you're done. So, yes, it's not Nixle. 888-777 and put your zip code in and you're done. But this system is a lot more robust, sorry. So, then I've had people call me. Out of 1,600 people have signed up. We've had 10 people call the helpline. And they're usually wanting to know, did they sign up? And I go in and go, yep, you're signed up. One gentleman, and some people have asked, well, I'm not going to be a member of this government thing. You're going to have my phone number. Well, yeah, guess what? They already have your phone number. They have your address, your phone number. If you buy anything online, you have a credit card, anything, it's all in a data bank, which we use for an imminent threat. It all gets compiled in one area. I have all that information already. It's in a resident data bank for the entire county in case I got to send out, evacuate, right? So it's all there. Just put your name in there, phone number, address. By law, if I give this information to anybody, I go to jail. By law, if the company does it, they go to jail. I don't release this stuff. So it's pretty easy. Go in, sign up, and that's what I'm trying to do, is save the world. Part of saving the world is signing up. So I'm hoping that everybody signs up. Some of you already know me, and I must have sent out, what, 30 emails, Chief? Chief? Yeah, yeah. And you're like, we're tired of watching you send these emails out. But we're marketing this. Vicki went to a presentation booth, and we signed up 20 people there. We're trying to send out, we're just trying to get that message out, build this bank up. And I'll guarantee when you're driving in a snowstorm headed to Monticello and the road's closed, you're going to wish you had this alert. So, yeah. Or your garden freezes and you lose your tomatoes. Yeah. So, anyway, it's good stuff. We don't overuse it, but we do inform people this way. And that'll help us when we have a law enforcement incident, right? We're closing an area off. The road is closed. Please. And it helps dispatch so people aren't calling dispatch. You got 2 people up there answering 1,000 phone calls because we didn't send out something to tell you that the road was closed. So,
in terms of, in getting the community to sign up, do we have like a press release on Crime Watch? Okay, and we've put it on Facebook? Okay. I just want to make sure we're doing, and I saw the press release on our website, but just making sure that we're helping out.
It's on every social media we got, everywhere, that I'm aware of. And we've been working really closely with Town of Dolores, Cortez, Mancos, and I've presented this now to everybody, but Mancos is next.
Does this include Dolores County?
Huh?
Dolores
yes, oh
County?
yeah, and part of this is we've joined forces because Dolores County is on our other system as well. So Dolores County and our county and the tribe are in the exact same system. So we have redundancy as well. If he's up there busy on a search and rescue, which he did in the middle of the snowstorm, I can get into his system and send out alert to tell his people what's going on the highway. He can do the same for me, and so can the tribe. So we're
that's great.
partnering.
What about Mesa Verde?
Yeah, they're in my system.
Okay.
They're not a separate little,
Good, okay.
yeah. I can ping them all day long. Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, no. So we have that redundancy and the training that we've been through. I'm going to say at least the 8 of us are really up on this. We're trained on it. So If I'm
So-
in Costa Rica for 6 months, you guys have backup.
So if people have questions, they reach out to you then?
Yes, and
Okay.
I'm all over the website, call me. But there's a help number on that instruction sheet, and we haven't had a lot of people call, but please call. I recommend, so there's two things. I recommend 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. I'll probably answer it later, like I have been at 11 o'clock at night, but please, try 8 to 5. It's not like that urgent to sign up. Second thing, you can sign up other residents. If you're going to sign up, let's say, grandma who lives in Illinois or Texas or Nebraska, you can sign them up on your account by putting their address in there. They'll get the alerts. The problem is, I will get the alerts when we have a tornado in Kansas or a flood watch in Texas, and I would rather not get worldwide weather reports. So I'm recommending, if you want grandma or, your daughter, my daughter's signed up to see what's going on here, right? Have her go into Everbridge and sign up an account herself and put her address in. She'll sign up with her primary, address, and then she can put in her daughter's address. And then it might bother the other emergency manager and not me. I don't know. I'm going to work on that system. But yeah, you can sign up as many addresses as you want to.
All right. Any questions from council? Okay.
Well,
We're good?
Jim, in terms of like more outreach, I know you guys have been pushing out a lot, but is there any thought of like partnering with like local hospital and stuff like that to also have that information posted in lobbies, waiting rooms, and stuff like that?
Yep.
Cool.
I'm leading all the horses to the water.
Yeah. Awesome.
I'm just hoping they drink, yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, all of them have it. I'm asking them to put it on their network pages, social media, et cetera. I'm looking at maybe 911 funding. Not much, but for some marketing material as well. I'm using my own budget right now, which is fine. We just need to get the message out, so. But yes, I'm all for it. Yeah, I recommend have a friend signed up. Everybody that signs up, have a friend signed up. Just keep moving it.
All right. Well, thank you, Jim. We really appreciate you taking the time to come here and let us know about this system and spread the word to the public.
Thank you
So.
for hearing me.
Good to see you.
Thanks. Good seeing you guys.
All right, we're going to move on to see on our agenda. Brian Peckins, Director of Public Works, is going to address us about 2024 proposed water rates increase.
Yeah, just give us a minute while we get set up.
While you guys are getting set up, I know we're running out of time, and in the interest of time, if they don't have enough time to fully present, I mean, this is pretty important for our budget system, so what do we do? Add it to the next workshop? Incorporate it into our agenda?
Honestly, I think if we can just get on it right now, I think we'll get through it just in time.
Okay. All right, speak quick.
Okay. Madam Mayor, Council, we're going to talk about our proposed water rates. I think you have a slide deck. You can go to the next slide. Next slide. Just some little background information on our water rates. Our last water rate study was conducted in 1986. In today's dollars, that rate would be $55 a month for the base rate. Right now, we're about 26. So the bottom line is our rate increases have not kept up with inflation. What we're doing is we're proposing a 20% increase in the base rate for residential users. I think this puts us on the right track. I think if you'll see, it's a reasonable increase, but we'll go through some more information. One of our goals is to increase the base rate to ensure sufficient revenue to maintain and operate our water treatment plant during droughts or times of very low flow. We're also adding progressive rates this year, or in 2024, which charge larger water users more than lower water users, thereby promoting conservation. Next slide. It'll also provide additional revenue to address long-neglected improvements to the water treatment plant and to our water distribution lines. It also will allow us sufficient revenue to purchase equipment and hire 2 additional operators to establish a dedicated in-house water distribution replacement team. And we expect to focus our in-house team on simple projects that are generally 50 to 75% less expensive than hiring a contract. As an example, the Puagan complex, we did 820 linear feet in-house. It cost us $150 a linear foot, and the estimated contract cost for that same job was $400 per linear foot. So it's quite a bit of savings, and as we build up our team, we'll be able to do more complex jobs, and we think we can start making a dent in all of our old cast iron pipes. And again, we'll still need to hire contractors for more complex projects with multiple underground, like Main Street. That's more difficult. We'll probably need to have a contractor do that sort of thing. If you go to the next slide, this is kind of it's a little busy, and we'll kind of get to this in the next couple of slides. But right now, you can see up at the top, the 2023 single-family rate, the base rate is $26.50, and then the following numbers below that show how much you pay. Right now, we have a flat $3.55 per 1,000 gallons after your first 1,000. You know, for 2,000, you can read for 7,000, 14,000, how much your rate goes up. In 2024, we're proposing that our base rate go up to $31.80. And then if you can see, if you go to the 2024 base rate plus the tiered gallons used, for 2,000, if you're a 2,000 gallon user, your monthly increase is only going to be $4.41. 7,000 gallons, it'll be approximately $5 a month. And to show some real actual examples, we'll go to the next slide. I think this kind of demonstrates. These are actual addresses. We've taken off the the numbers to hide the innocent. But if you look there, these are all actual users of City of Cortez water. You've got a 2,000 gallon user, a 5,000 gallon user, and an 8,000 gallon, 13,000 and 30,000 gallons, and you can see the proposed rate and the monthly increase. Now, the average residential water user in Cortez is 7,374 gallons a month. If you look at in the middle of the page, 8,000 gallons, that's just about an average user. Their monthly increase will be $5.87. Next slide. Okay, kind of our summary. A 20% rate increase in the base rate only results in small increases to low residential water users. The progressive rates in which the higher water users pay more encourages water conservation, and the increase in revenue also allows us to develop an in-house dedicated water distribution line replacement team, which we think will be a big benefit to the city. So, our recommendation on the next slide, that the City Council approve a 20% increase in the base rate in 2024. Subject to your questions.
So are we not changing the per gallon price? Or I guess it is if it's the... Or is it just the base that's going up then?
No, well, we're changing right now the volume charge is $3.55 for anything over, for each 1,000 gallons. If you go back to this chart, you can see at the bottom, the city revised volume charges. For 1,000 gallons, you get your first 1,000 gallons included in your base rate. For 1,000 to 4,000, you're only paying $2.66 for each 1,000 gallons. If you use 4,000, you can read there, 4,000 to 8,000, it goes up to $4.36. If you're using 8,000 to 16,000, it goes up to, it's a progressive rate. It gets higher the more water you use. So the base rate will go up a little bit, but then some your rates could go down a little bit because you're, at the very low users will be having a much lower rate than subsequent higher users.
When's the last rate increase that we've had? I see that, you know, our last study was in 1986, which was 37 years ago, but
Yeah, no, we've generally, I think for the last 3 to 5 years, we've had just a basic 5% increase.
okay.
Yeah, as someone who was on council, you know, I guess 14 years ago for 8 years, that was part of our policy to do that. And I just want to say, Brian, I'm glad that you came back and you've really been thoughtful about this, because to me it does seem really reasonable. And I say that as someone who probably uses way more water than they should, to be honest, for my garden and whatnot. And I think that once people realize that, you know, we're talking about protecting the infrastructure and those sorts of things, that it becomes really reasonable then. Nobody wants to be without water. And,
Absolutely.
you know, when you talk about 20%, that sounds like a lot of money, but then when you translate that to, you know, around $5, that's not that much money to secure good water and infrastructure.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it's exciting, the proposal to kind of bring in water line replacement in-house.
We're
You know,
excited about
If
that.
that's going to cost a fourth of the price going through a contractor, we're also creating jobs with the city, and we don't have to wait on their schedule.
Absolutely. You know, we can't wait to get started, and we're looking forward to, you know, starting to make a dent in our infrastructure upgrades.
I'm really excited to see that program develop in-house, and I really appreciate you breaking this down for us a bit more. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else?
When would you start forming or hiring that team, or have you already?
Well, we have to wait for the budget to get approved, and
Okay.
once that's approved and we know we're going to have the revenue, then we can go out and advertise for those positions.
Okay.
Also, Mayor and Council, if I can just inject here, once the budget's approved, and then the next agenda item will be the fee schedule that'll be adopted for the next year, and this will appear on there.
And that includes everything, right? Like rec center and everything in the fee schedule?
Well, yes, with an asterisk.
Yep.
Most everything, with the exception of the airport, there will be a second resolution requested for that. Only because they're so different, we need to have that somewhat separate. But answer to your question is yes, with the exception of airport.
Great, thank you.
I guess my last question is not necessarily for you guys, but maybe Rachel and Helen. When we talk about the cost of living, like the 30%, 30% of income dedicated to housing, does that include utilities, or is that just like straight rent, straight mortgage payment? Because, you know, in reality, the cost of utilities are going up for every industry.
It depends on what it kind of depends. In some articles I've read, they're talking about, so a lot of Prop 123 is just talking about rent and mortgage, like that's it. But in other, even some government publication, it does include utilities. So I think it's important to keep in mind, but I also think that we need water in the future. But yeah, so it just depends. So yeah, I think most people think about affordable housing in the non-Prop 123 world as including utilities, as everything should be under 30%. However, based on Prop 123 and affordable housing, it's on mortgage and rent only.
Okay, thanks, Helen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you guys. Thank you
Appreciate
for
it.
being here. All right, we're going to move on to D on our agenda, general council discussion. Do we have any?
I just want to bring up something really quick, and I talked to Patrick about it, but some of the citizens and maybe some of the people in the room might have seen an article in the paper about an incident at the fairgrounds with 4-H and a girl who wasn't allowed to show one of her animals or something. And at the end of the article, it said that the father of this person went to the city manager and to the city attorney. And I just want to clarify that that was the county attorney and the county manager, that the city of Cortez doesn't have anything to do with the county fairgrounds.
Well, actually, while we're correcting things that the Journal printed, in the article about the zoning issue that we saw at our last meeting, they either promoted or demoted our attorney, Patrick Coleman, to a council member. So I did just want to clarify that those statements were from our attorney, Patrick Coleman, who is not a council member.
One thing I do want to bring up with council is just kind of having the idea, and I want to see what you guys think about potentially term limits on advisory boards. I know that that's kind of, there's a give and take, you know, like there's people who are dedicated and we don't want to lose them if they're willing to spend 20 years on our boards, but we also, like, sometimes boards are good when they're refreshed. Potentially we're worried that there's not enough people in the community to step up for these advisory boards. It's just a thought I had that I wanted to share with council.
I'm pro term limits on advisory boards. I just think, just like with us, we have term limits. It's good to have new perspective put in. I think that would also create more of a normal cycle of people stepping up to fill the boards versus like losing people really sporadically and then having to kind of rush to fill them.
Which boards currently don't have term limits, or is it all of them?
I think it's all of them. Where's Linda?
I think that's a good idea to have term limits.
Do you know, Linda? Oh, we're talking, do any of the boards have term limits? None of them do, okay.
But are people periodically required to apply again, right? So there is at least
Yeah.
that vetting piece to it, that they
Yeah,
have
so
to come to
we
council.
still have control of who's appointed to the board. I don't know, maybe it's not a good idea, because then if no one else applies, that person can't step up, but
But if you have somebody applying that's been on there forever, it's going to discourage new people to come, and then we're not going to foster, we're going to skip generations of people coming into those positions. Like, 'cause I wouldn't want to go up against someone that was on a board for like 25 years as like year one.
that's a good point. Well, just something to contemplate.
I mean, it'd be nice to see how other communities do term limits for their boards. Like, that might be information that I'd like to see, and maybe we could consider how other communities are navigating that.
That's a good idea. Drew? Can we request that?
Am I being asked for an opinion?
No, you're being
Okay.
asked to see what other communities do.
Okay, will do.
Thank you. Dennis?
How do we move forward? Because I'm really interested in this. I think this is something we really need to take a look at, and I don't want it to fall by the wayside. It was a good idea that we never acted on, so can we put it in another meeting, or make it on the list of things that we need to accomplish?
Yeah, once we're given council direction, we always follow through, and we will be doing that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, anything else? Okay, we'll wrap this meeting up, and then we'll start a regular meeting at 7:30. Thank you.